What's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champ, the flyweight champ, and the bantamweight champion of the world. Anyhow, you guys stay tuned, and you guys don't forget to hit up Artem MMA Analysis on YouTube. Because if you don't, you guys can all do me a favor and bend the knee to King Triple C.
What's up, guys? Artem MMA Analysis here, back with another video. And we've got the UFC 271 full card picks. I've done my research. I've done a lot more research than I did in the first time I made the video, which was a couple of days ago by the time that this video probably comes out. A couple of picks have changed, but for the most part I'm still picking kind of the same guys. A couple of guys that I was on the fence I'm now a lot more confident on. But let's just get into the first fight. Mathietha versus Jeremiah Wells. As you guys know, I'm from New Zealand. I'm gonna be a big fan of Mathietha after he makes his UFC debut, win or lose. But one thing that does concern me, man, I am a little bit worried. I'm a little bit worried about his MMA experience. I'm a little bit worried about the fact that Jeremiah Wells is probably going to be able to take this fight to the ground. He's got very good body lock takedowns. He's able to clinch up. Mathietha in his fight with Dimps did clinch up with him up against the cage quite a bit, but he was never really able to get the fight to the ground. But that's the difference between Jeremiah Wells and a guy like Dimps. I do think that Jeremiah Wells will be able to get the fight to the ground if he wants to. On the feet, though, Jeremiah Wells, when he does throw, he's throwing a lot of power shots, and he's not going to be throwing in anywhere near as much volume as Mathietha. Mathietha throws a lot of volume, which is what you like to see, considering the fact that he's going to be a very, very high-level striker with a lot of striking experience. As I said, Israel Adesanya claims that he's had over 100 fights in China. I'm going to believe that. I know his professional kickboxing record is something like 54-14, 55-14, something like that. So he does have a pretty good and extensive kickboxing record. He's fought over in Glory Kickboxing as well, I believe. King in the Ring as well, over in New Zealand here as well. Jeremiah Wells, on the other hand, he's coming off a knockout win over Wiley Alves, Colby Covington's father. But in that fight, man, he was kind of what he does is he kind of throws and he kind of closes his eyes. That's where Mathietha is definitely going to be able to capitalize on the feet against Jeremiah Wells here. But prior to that, he was the Cage Fury FC welterweight champion as well. Couple of good wins there. He lost to Vinicius de Jesus, not really too bad of a loss really, but apart from that, he's just beaten good guys. Mathietha, on the other hand, I just think that it's a little bit too much of a test too soon. I do think the Ryan Kosuke fight would have been a lot more beneficial to him in his career. I'm just going to have to... Oh, man, I picked Mathietha the first time. I really want to pick Mathietha the second time. But I'm just going to have to flip my pick on this one, unfortunately. I'm really sorry. I really like to pick the New Zealand guys. You guys know I like to pick the New Zealand guys as well. But I'm just going to have to go with Jeremiah Wells on this one here. I do think Jeremiah's going to get the job done. If Mathietha's got a good chance, it's probably a knockout in the first round, to be honest. Maybe catch Jeremiah Wells as he's throwing his heavy punches with his eyes closed. Man, Jeremiah Wells by KO? I don't know, man. Maybe a TKO towards the end of the whole fight. Maybe a submission as well. We don't really know how good Mathietha's ground game is. He does have a submission win about 3 years and 6 months ago, but his opponent really didn't know what he was doing on the ground, let's be honest. Jeremiah Wells, I don't really know about an inside the distance play, but unfortunately I'm just going to have to side for the majority on this one. I was really hyped up for Mathietha's debut, but after I've done a bit more research, I've looked into it a bit more. Jeremiah Wells has a lot more experience as well, and Jeremiah Wells, his cancelled fights have been, no disrespect to Mathietha, but they've been top level guys, high level guys than Mathietha, in my opinion. Like Jake Matthews, I think Jake Matthews would beat Mathietha, and Tim Means on the other hand, that would have been a pretty awesome fight. Mathietha versus Tim Means, 32-12 versus 3-0. But no, with that being said, I'm just gonna have to pick Jeremiah Wells. It sucks to say, Jeremiah Wells is my official pick. If the pick changes, check out my Instagram at artem.mma.analysis. That's where I post all of my final picks, but for now I am going to go with Jeremiah Wells. And if we move on to the next fight, we're going to be moving on to Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Sergey Morozov. Douglas Silva de Andrade, pretty experienced within the UFC. Made his debut at 22-0, which is pretty insane, about 7 years ago. And now he's 27-4, so he hasn't really had the worst, but he hasn't really had the best run either in the UFC. On the other hand, Sergey Morozov will be making his third appearance in the UFC. His first loss was to Umar Nurmagomedov, and he was like a plus 400 underdog in that fight, so I can't really blame him too much for, I think he even made it to the third round in that fight. But with that being said, he came back and he defeated Khalid Taha, a guy known for for good takedown defense, in my opinion. Anyway, he made the second round, I lied, but he didn't really look too bad in my opinion. But Douglas Silva de Andrade knocked out the kickboxer in Gaetano Parello. He's actually got 20 KO wins out of his 27 wins, which is pretty impressive as is. But he did take Kenan Barral to a decision a couple of years ago, lost to Lerone Murphy, undefeated guy, lost to Piotr Jan. I mean, that kind of happens. And beat Marlon Vera 3 years, 11 months ago, a win that has actually aged quite well. On the other hand, though, Sergey Morozov, his fighting style, I think, is the kind of perfect style to beat a guy like Douglas Silva de Andrade. Douglas Silva de Andrade isn't the most fluid striker on the feet. He kind of likes to stick to his combos. He'll throw a combo and then reset, and then he'll throw another combo, reset, throw another couple of punches or kicks or whatever, and he'll reset. I think in those moments where Douglas Silva de Andrade is resetting, that's when Sergey Morozov can start hunting for the takedowns. And when Sergey Morozov starts hunting for a takedowns, if he grabs that leg or he grabs something, he's going to try and get that takedown. He's going to chain his wrestling together. He's not just going to give up, and he wants that fight to the floor. He's got good stand-up as well to Sergey, but I do think that Sergey's path to victory will be taking the fight to the floor, working up against the clinch, just getting some control time, working potentially towards some ground and pound or a submission, just working away at Douglas Silva de Andrade's stamina, working away at his cardio is what I was actually trying to say. But I do think that my original pick, Sergey Morozov decision, I think that pick still stands. I do think we're going to see Sergey take this fight all the way to the distance, and I do see him winning on the judges' scorecards there. If we look at the picks on Tapology, seems like a lot of people are in agreement with me. A lot of people picking Morozov. Those picking Silva de Andrade, surprisingly, a high amount picking decision. I would pick him by KO if he was to win this fight. 20 wins by KO. He just flat 9 KO'd Gaetano Parello relatively quickly as well. I think that was a first round finish. Don't get me wrong there, but Sergey Morozov, I do see him getting the fight to the ground, while Douglas Silva de Andrade is kind of resetting his strikes, working away at Sergey. I can just see Sergey starting to chain wrestle, take Douglas Silva de Andrade to the ground, just work his grappling from there. I think the fight's going to go the distance though, and I do think that we are going to see a decision win for Sergey Morozov, and I was correct. There was 2 minutes into the first round, was Douglas Silva de Andrade's last win. And also to make things better, I'm pretty sure Sergey Morozov is actually training out of American Top 10 at the moment. Not 100% sure if that is correct, but I'm pretty confident he is. I'm going to go Sergey Morozov to win this one. His one loss in his last 5 fights to Umar Nurmagomedov, who is undefeated still. I think he's actually 15-0 right now. Not really too bad of a loss to have on your record, let's be honest. A good win over Khalid Taha by decision. I think he's going to get the job done. I do think he's going to beat Douglas Silva de Andrade by decision in this one. I'm going with Sergey Morozov. In this one, we have Jacob Malkoun versus AJ Dobson. I'm going AJ Dobson in this one, but I do think that the fight is a lot closer than a lot of people are thinking, in my opinion. I think AJ Dobson's got the striking advantage. Jacob Malkoun does have a couple of professional boxing wins. Sorry, I think it's worth noting. At only 5'9" as a middleweight as well, he's got his brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well, which I believe he earned recently when he made his UFC debut a little bit over a year ago. I think he had a purple belt. Now he's progressed up to the brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's Robert Whittaker's training partner as well, so he's got that experience as well, high-level training experience, and is only 26 years old. Jacob Malkoun's got a lot going for him, let's be honest, and he's got a win over Abdulrazak Al Hassan. Pretty good look there. But he's fighting AJ Dobson. I think AJ Dobson's going to win the fight here. But I think he is going to have to keep the fight on the feet to get the job done. He submitted Hashim Akaga. He knocked out Kalen Hill and a couple of other good wins there. I think Kalen Hill, that's actually a pretty good win, as Kalen Hill made it to the distance with Impa Kasaganai. One thing that's worth noting though is you've got to be a little bit concerned for AJ Dobson here. 3 of his professional fights, I believe, have taken place at 170 pounds. He's not really a middleweight. He's not really built like a middleweight at the moment, unless he's been bulking up a little bit. This guy has fought 3 times at 170, 1 time at 175. He's not really that experienced as a middleweight, but the UFC wants more middleweights. They've signed him to this contract. Now he's fighting Jacob Malkoun. Jacob Malkoun wants to get the fight to the ground, in my opinion. I think if the fight is taking place in the middle of the octagon, AJ Dobson, It's going to be just scoring more points. He's going to be landing those kicks. He's going to be using his kickboxing. And Jacob Malkoun, I think he's just going to keep working for those takedowns. I think he shot for 24 takedowns against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Landed 8 of them in that fight. Managed to win a decision there. AJ Dobson's a lot taller than Jacob Malkoun. I think that he's going to be able to use the size advantage, well, his height advantage to his advantage in this fight here. But you got to be a little bit concerned for AJ Dobson. He's going to be tested on the ground, I think, at least once in this fight. But if he can get the fight to the feet, keep it on the feet with Jacob Malkoun, he's going to be pressuring forward. He's going to be forcing Malkoun to make takedowns. I don't see Malkoun walking forward on AJ Dobson in this fight. So we'll see what happens, man. But AJ Dobson also fighting out of Immortal. That is, the guy from the Ultimate, Matt Brown. That is Matt Brown's gym, and Carlson Gracie as well. That's always good to see these working on his ground game. I've got AJ Dobson, decision or knockout. It's very interesting in this one here, but I do think AJ Dobson's going to get the job done. I do think he might chin Jacob Malkoun, considering he got chinned in 18 seconds against Phil Hawes. Yeah, there's definitely something to worth note as well. So yeah, I think we're going to see AJ Dobson knock out Jacob Malkoun in this one here. Alright, so we are moving on to the third fight of the night. We've got Carlos Albrecht fighting Fabio Charant. Very interesting matchup here, as to be fair, Fabio Charant's weakness is his striking, and Carlos Albrecht's weakness is his grappling. Fabio Charant's strength is his grappling. Carlos Albrecht's strength is his striking. So both guys' strength is each other's weakness. It's going to be a very interesting fight. Will Carlos Albrecht be able to keep the fight on the feet is probably the main question to ask here. Fabio Charant, of his 7 wins, 5 of them are by submission. He hasn't actually managed to find a win inside the UFC yet, which is a little bit unfortunate for him. He got knocked out by William Knight. He got submitted by Alonzo Minifield, cracked in the first round, knocked out in the first round by William Knight as well. 2 first-round losses on Fabio Charant's record. Not really the greatest look to have when you're in the UFC at only 27 years old. There's 2 first-round losses, unfortunately, there. On the other hand, though, Carlos Albrecht, his debut was very exciting. He threw like 80, I think he landed like 86 significant strikes in the first round, over 60 in the second round, even though he got knocked out in the second round as well. Kennedy Nzechukwu and Carlos Albrecht set like a record, or second most strike throwing in a light heavyweight fight or something ridiculous, and the fight was only like 2 rounds long. With it being said, though, I like Carlos Albrecht's kickboxing. I am from New Zealand. I like to back my boys from New Zealand. Sometimes I pick against them, like I'm picking against Blood Diamond, to be honest. But I just don't think that Fabio Charant is really going to be able to get the fight to the ground before Carlos Albrecht finds him. Fabio Charant, when he throws his shots, he throws with a lot of power, and he does leave himself open. And a guy like Carlos Albrecht, who has the volume that he has, who has the power, has the combinations that he has, I think he's going to be able to get it done. But the problem with Carlos Albrecht is, though, he wasn't actually able to knock out Kennedy Nzechukwu, and Dalton Zhang managed to do it in the first round. And does Carlos Albrecht really have that power? Personally, I do think that he does, and I do think he is going to finish Fabio Charant here, probably in the first round. If not, then he could be in trouble, because we were talking about his cardio. The commentators were talking about his cardio about 3 minutes into the first round, because he's just throwing so much volume. Hopefully he doesn't throw too much volume and leaves himself exposed to get taken down to the ground by Fabio, but I personally do think we're going to see Carlos Albrecht keep the fight on the feet, land a couple of power punches, and knock him out. Wow, that is very interesting. How many people are picking Carlos Albrecht here? Not many people on the Charant side, and no one on the Charant by submission side. That is strange, man. If I was picking Fabio Charant, I'd be picking Fabio Charant submission all day. Because Carlos Albrecht, when Kennedy Nzechukwu tried to grapple with him, he didn't really look like he knew what he was doing. Let's be honest, he kind of panicked a little bit. We'd need to be realistic here. But no, I've got Carlos Albrecht by knockout. I do think he's going to get the job done. But man, I think people are sleeping on Fabio Charant a little bit here, man. I don't really like to see that level of disrespect on the Tapology votes. But Carlos Albrecht is my boy. I do think he's going to get the job done. Carlos Albrecht by knockout, probably in the first round, is my pick. What's up, guys? The next one that we're going to be talking about is Alexander Hernandez versus Renato Moycano. This is a fight that I was very much on the fence about in my very initial preview early looks video, but I was on the side of Alexander Hernandez, and now I'm going to step a little bit further into the yard of Alexander Hernandez here. I'm going to be picking him as the underdog to win this fight here. I think he's got the stand-up advantage over Renato Moycano. Renato does have pretty good stand-up himself, but the problem is my path to victory for Alexander Hernandez is to knock out Renato Moycano, and Renato has been knocked out a couple of times recently. He got knocked out by Rafael Fiziev in the first round. He got knocked out by Chan Sung Jung. I believe that was a second round knockout loss. He lost to Jose Aldo by knockout. I think he's also got a submission loss to Brian Ortega. Not really, can't really take too much. You can't put that down on Renato too much, to be honest. That was not really the worst loss to have. But apart from that, his last three losses have been knockouts, and actually Chan Sung Jung knocked him out in the first minute. Wow, okay, so not really the best luck to really have coming into a fight with a power puncher like Alexander Hernandez, a guy that is going to want to keep the fight on the feet. And Alexander Hernandez, I don't see him wanting to take Renato Moycano down to the ground. Alexander Hernandez obviously pretty famous for losing to Donald Cerrone after talking all of that shit, but yeah, I think he's learned from that. I think he put way too much pressure on himself to do that, and I think he's grown up a little bit, man. He's got a win over Mike Breeden, who was debuting at short notice. I don't really take too much stock in that win whatsoever. He did go to decision with Thiago Moises, which I guess isn't too bad. I mean, Thiago Moises is borderline top 15. I think he was ranked at one point when they made the Islam Makhachev fight, just to make it look like he was actually fighting someone ranked. Chris Gudismaka win. I mean, that one is aging well, weirdly. Let's be honest, lost to Drew Dober. That's a little bit of a concern in my opinion. But he's got a win over Francisco Trinado as well. But if we talk about the fighting styles here, Renato Moycano's got the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu advantage all day. I do think he's got a slight grappling advantage, but I do think that Alexander Hernandez is going to be able to keep Renato Moycano off of him. And I do think he's going to be able to keep the fight on the feet. I think that this fight is not going to go the distance. Either Renato Moycano is going to lock up a sub, or Alexander Hernandez is going to send Renato Moycano to the canvas. And it seems like Tapology is agreeing with me there. 59% of those picking Hernandez are picking by knockout. 52% of those picking Moycano are picking by submission. Not really anyone picking submission for Hernandez. I don't really see him getting a submission, to be honest. Moycano could maybe get some sort of TKO on the ground, but I do just see Moycano either submitting Hernandez or Hernandez knocking out Moycano. I am going to be sitting on the side of Alexander Hernandez. I'm picking him to win, and I'm picking him to win by knockout over Renato Moycano here, who has shown a lack of a chin in the past, and it does concern me just a little bit. And now we're moving on to the next fight. A guy that I am actually very excited about being in the UFC, believe it or not, is Mana Martinez. I actually do have a little bit of hype on Mana Martinez, to be honest, but let's be realistic, guys. He really disappointed in his debut. I think he was truly set up to knock out Guido Canetti and get a crazy knockout win, because Mana Martinez does have power in his hands. He's got a couple of round one finishes there. A knockout over Jose Johnson in the first minute, knockout of Casey Jones in the first minute. He did lose to Draco Rodriguez. Not really the worst loss, but not a great loss either. And yeah, apart from that, man, most of his wins are knockouts within the first minute or in the first or second round. He's definitely got that power, man. He didn't really land it on Guido Canetti, but I do understand he had a lot going on in that time. He's not really going to have that much on his mind in this fight here, but he will be fighting Ronnie Lawrence, and I've brought up my good friend, a good friend that I haven't actually mentioned in a very, very long time, and that is UFC stats. Look at Ronnie Lawrence's UFC stats when he fought Jose Johnson over on the Contender Series, which actually happens to be the same guy that Mana Martinez sparked in the first round. He took him down 12 times to a decision win, and then when he fought Vince Cachero in his UFC debut, he took him down 8 times to a win. If we look at the preview here for Ronnie Lawrence, for every 15 minutes, this man is landing 10 takedowns. That's ridiculously scary, man. It was 76% accuracy. I mean, he has only had 2 fights in the UFC, including Dana White's Contender Series. Mana Martinez's best chance to win this fight is definitely in the first 2 minutes of the fight, unless Ronnie Lawrence just comes out and shoots a takedown. I really do think that Ronnie Lawrence's path to victory in this one here is to just take down Mana Martinez and control him on the ground, and I think that's what he's going to do. When this fight was first announced, I was pretty big on Mana Martinez just knocking him out in the first round until I watched Ronnie Lawrence fight. I looked at his stats, I watched him fight again, I watched him fight Dana White's Contender Series, I watched his UFC debut, and I was like, nah, Mana Martinez, man, I just don't think that his takedown defense is going to be enough to stop Ronnie Lawrence. This is the same guy that got submitted by Draco Rodriguez over in the Contender Series. I understand Mano Martinez had a lot going on at the time of his debut, but that debut was not a good debut. Let's be realistic here. A split decision win over like the 38-year-old Guido Canetti. A little bit scary, man, and I think he missed weight a lot as well, but once again, he had a lot going on. You got to kind of let that slide a little bit, but I just don't think he's going to be able to knock out Ronnie Lawrence. I think that the UFC is almost setting up Ronnie Lawrence for a win in this one here. They're not giving Mano Martinez a guy that he could knock out in the first round. I think that Mano Martinez versus Trevin Giles, which is a fight that was meant to be made, which got cancelled, would make a lot more sense for Mano in this one. That'll be a great striking fight. But anyway, let's not talk about that. Ronnie Lawrence in this one, I think he's going to get the job done. I think he's going to get a decision win. He's going to use his wrestling and just going to stop the power. He's going to stop the speed of Mano Martinez on the feet. He doesn't want this fight to be on the feet, and I don't see the fight really taking place on the feet, because Ronnie Lawrence is not going to allow that to happen unless Martinez knocks him out very early. What are the guys on Tapology doing, man? Why are you voting Martinez to win by decision? He's not going to win a decision. I'm going to look stupid if he does. But Mano Martinez's best chance of winning is by knockout, and 25% of those picking Martinez have picked him to win by decision. I don't understand. Have you watched any of Mano Martinez's fights? I have. They're all filmed on like a 2004 Nokia. But anyway, with that being said, Ronnie Lawrence by decision, in my opinion. I do think he's going to get the job done. And I think he's going to get the job done by a decision. Or maybe he could really wear on Mano Martinez late in the fight and lock up a TKO. Ground and pound TKO. Or maybe some sort of submission as well. I just can't see Ronnie Lawrence winning the fight in general in this one here. But Mano Martinez is a live underdog because he could knock out Ronnie Lawrence in the first minute of the fight. Let's be honest. What's up, guys? Artem MMA Analysis here. We're here to talk about William Knight versus Maxine Grisham. This is the third time that I'm talking about this fight because I've made big mistakes when I'm talking. I've said things that were wrong. Oh man, I'm an idiot. If I stuff this video up, I'm just going to keep it rolling. We've got William Knight versus Maxine Grisham. William Knight, when this fight was first made, I said William Knight is going to be the underdog in this fight, but I'm going to pick him anyway. I'm still on the William Knight side, and I'm on the William Knight side by KO. I do think he's going to get the job done. I do think he's going to get the job done inside the distance. Maxine Grisham, he's fought at heavyweight before. He had a very, very extensive regional career before moving into the UFC. Only a year and a half ago, where he made his debut at heavyweight against Marcin Tybura, where he was only a very small underdog. So a lot of respect was put on the Maxime Grisham side on that one there. And a lot of people were picking Grisham to win that fight too. He did lose by decision, but that was a fight at heavyweight, man. You got to respect that. He then fought Justin Jacoby most recently, where he lost by decision. But he missed weight, man. He missed weight by about 4.5 pounds. Not really the best look as a light heavyweight, considering we've got William Knight, who's a to be honest, he's a shorter guy for the UFC light heavyweight division. He's only 5'10". Maxine Grisham is going to be a lot taller than him with a reach advantage as well. We have seen William Knight struggle against the bigger guys in the light heavyweight division, such as Da Un Jung. Da Un Jung was pretty much able to have his way with him because he was so much bigger than William Knight. And William Knight, man, coming off a very interesting decision win to Alonzo Munifield there. Yeah, it was a close fight, that one. I mean, the decision could have gone either way. William Knight took it anyway. We don't really talk about that one too much. But William Knight, man, a lot of people are thinking he's on roids. There's probably a pretty good chance that he's on roids, but I'm not really going to get into that too much. I do think he's going to win the fight. I do think he's going to beat Maxine Grisham. It's going to be very interesting to see if Maxine is going to be able to have his way with William Knight, because when he fought Da Un Jung, and Da Un Jung was a lot bigger than him, and I don't even think he was that much bigger. I think he's actually smaller than what Maxine Grisham is. Da Un Jung was able to have his way. He was able to pick up William Knight and slam him to the ground. He was able to use his reach and size advantage on the feet as well to kind of keep him away. He was kind of piecing him up there. Da Un Jung was 6'4", so he was a little bit shorter than Maxine, but Maxine's got that height and reach advantage, and we could definitely see a very experienced guy in Maxine potentially make William Knight does not be able to implement his short range game. He knocked out Fabio Charant. He went to decision with Alonzo Munifield. Prior to that, he went to decision with Lex Kamer, and he knocked out Cody Brundage. I am picking William Knight to knock out Maxime Grisham in this one here. He was almost 38 years old. He's trying to cut weight to 205. He didn't really make it against Dustin Jacoby there. I'm just going to have to go William Knight by knockout. It's very interesting that Tapology is in the favor of Knight, considering the fact that Grisham is the favorite, but I'm still going to go with the underdog. I'm picking William Knight to win this one. I do think he's going to get the job done inside the distance, and he's going to knock out Maxime Grisham before Maxime is able to implement his game, his long range game, or his much longer range game, and also his grappling as well. Alright, the next one that we're going to be talking about has been cancelled and rebooked a couple of times. Alex Perez versus Matt Schnell is taking place in the flyweight division. Definitely worth noting that Matt Schnell last fought in the bantamweight division, and he fought Rogerio Bontorin, where he was outstruck. Let's be honest, he was outstruck a little bit by Rogerio Bontorin. Matt Schnell, very good submission game, very good ground game, but he seems to have fallen in love with his hands recently. He likes to keep the fight on the feet, and I think that is where Alex Perez is going to have a bit of an advantage in this one. Matt Schnell, pretty big guy for the flyweight division as well. He's going to have 2 inches of height and also a couple of 4.5 inches of reach on Alex Perez as well. But I think that if he wants to get this fight, I think if he's going to win, he's going to have to take the fight to the ground and submit Alex Perez. Alex Perez does have 4 submission losses. He got ground and pounded out by Joseph Benavidez. He got submitted by Davison Figueiredo. I mean, it happens. He's got a very strong guillotine. Apart from that, man, he's got a win over Jussier Formiga, Jordan Espinoza, and Mark De La Rosa. He's on a little bit of a run before he ran into the champion, Davison Figueiredo. On the other hand, Matt Schnell, last fought at bantamweight, got beaten on the feet by a ground specialist in Rogerio Bontorin. He's got a split decision win over Tyson Nam, which doesn't really look that great on his record, as I don't think Tyson Nam's even in the UFC anymore. Lost to Alejandro Pantoja by knockout. Got submitted by Jordan Espinoza. Won by submission of Jordan Espinoza and Lewis Smoker. Pretty good wins in my opinion, especially for the time, which was about 2.5 years ago. I am picking Alex Perez to win this fight. I do think he's fought the high level competition. I do think he's a little bit better everywhere except just in pure Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I do think that Matt Schnell would probably have a pretty good chance of submitting Alex Perez in this fight. It's crazy how wide of an underdog he actually is, considering Alex Perez has been submitted 4 times in his career. A lot of Matt Schnell's wins, especially in the UFC, have come by submission. Let's have a little look at his official stats. 9 submission wins for Matt Schnell. Alex Perez, on the other hand, a few knockout wins as well. He's got very strong leg kicks, which I was actually meant to talk about. Game-changing leg kicks as well. I think he's going to chop away at the feet of Matt Schnell on the feet, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I'm tired, guys. I've had a long day at work. I'm sorry. Alex Perez is my pick. I do think he's going to get the job done. I think he's a little bit better everywhere. I think Matt Schnell, I think he's just going to fall in love with his hands, and Alex Perez is going to piece him up on the feet. I don't know if I can expect a finish in this one. This is Alex Perez's first time in a very long time, and I do think he's going to get the job done by a decision. Not a lot of confidence in the prop, though. I think Perez, just as is pretty good, but this could be a very trapped line here, let's be honest. He's a minus 400 favorite. Matt Schnell is not anyone just to sleep on. Matt Schnell is pretty decent, man, but I do think Alex Perez is going to win the fight, even though he hasn't fought in a very long time. Let's go Alex Perez. What's up, guys? Artem MMA Analysis here. I'm a little bit tired. This is my second time recording this video. I didn't even expect this pick to be that long. I think Casey O'Neill is going to dominate Roxanne Modafferi. Roxanne Modafferi is about 15 years older than Casey O'Neill here. Casey O'Neill not very far into her career. Roxanne Modafferi made her debut in 2003. That's where I think a lot of people definitely do need to put respect on Roxanne Modafferi's name, though. She's beaten Jennifer Howe twice early on in her career. After that, she's got a split decision win over Andrea Lee, Diana Bennett as well, Mariana Moraes. Even that win doesn't even look too bad. She made it onto the Ultimate Fighter Season 26 after failing on the Ultimate Fighter Season 18, and she got signed to the UFC after that. Lost to Nico Moycano and Montano in the final there. What a nightmare of a situation. She's got a win over Antonina Shevchenko, Macy Barber as well in that kind of weird fight where Macy Barber injured herself. Prior to that, after that though, she hasn't really been able to get a win since the Andrea Lee unanimous decision win. She's got a great ground game, just Roxanne, but I think she's just getting a little bit old now. She's almost 40 years old in the women's flyweight division. We don't really see that, like, ever. So it's very interesting that she's still around. She's still in the top 15. She is actually able to get a couple of wins, but that's kind of where it ends for Roxanne here. I think Casey O'Neill's got better striking than Roxanne. I think Casey O'Neill has borderline better grappling as well than Roxanne as well, especially at this point in Roxanne's career. I think Roxanne Modafferi is probably going to hang out the gloves after this one. This is her last fight in the UFC career. She probably wants to retire, with her last fight being in the UFC as well. Definitely a veteran, definitely a legend, in my opinion, of women's MMA. She's been around since 2003. You've got to respect that, guys. But with that being said, this is a passing of the guard fight. I think Casey O'Neill was going to destroy Roxanne Modafferi within 2 rounds. Ground and pound TKO or even a submission if she can lock it up. But I do see Casey O'Neill piecing up Roxanne on the feet, maybe even taking her to the ground and pounding her out as well. I've got Casey O'Neill. I think she's going to finish the fight inside the distance. I don't know about a submission, but I've definitely got O'Neill by ground and pound TKO or knockout, maybe even a submission. But it's going to be very difficult to submit the ground specialist in Roxanne Modafferi. But yeah, I'm going to have to go with Casey O'Neill here. Alright, let's talk about this one here, man. We've got one of the legends of UFC heavyweight MMA, Andrei Arlovski, fighting Jared Vanderaa. Andrei Arlovski, man, he's maybe 43 years old, but he's still beating these guys. He's still beating a lot of guys, and at this point in his career, you do actually have to be someone special to beat him. Andrei Arlovski's last loss was against Tom Aspinall. Look where Tom Aspinall is now. Top 10 of the UFC heavyweight division. Jairzinho Rosenstrike as well. Augusto Sakai, I mean, split decision there. Shamil Abdurakhimov, Taituevasta as well. I mean, the guys that have beaten Andrei Arlovski within the last like 5 years or so, Stephen Miocic even, have been special fighters. They've been big, they've been important guys, they've been important names, you know what I mean? Apart from that, Andrei Arlovski has been able to push past through these guys. He's been able to beat the guys that are the lower levels of the UFC heavyweight division, such as Jared Vanderaa in this one, which is why I'm going with Andrei Arlovski. I don't think he's going to win the fight. He's got a win over Felipe Lins, Tanner Boza, lost to Tom Aspinall, Chase Sherman, and Carlos Felipe. I think Andrei Arlovski at this point is just building on his career. I don't even know. Maybe he's just fighting because he loves it. But yeah, man, I love this fight, to be honest. Just for Andrei Arlovski, I think he's going to win again. I do see him beating Jared Vanderaa in this one here. But Jared Vanderaa, he did beat Tustin Tafa by decision. I do respect that win. He knocked out Harry Hunsucker as well, but it's Harry Hunsucker. He lost to Sergey Spivak, and he got sacrificed to Alexander Romanov. Let's be realistic there. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say apart from the fact that Andrei Arlovski, I think, is just a little bit better everywhere around than Jared Vanderaa, and I'm very impressed by the fact that he's still able to keep these wins going, man. He's fighting out of American top 10. He's 43 years old. He's 4-1 in his last 5. I mean, I don't think that he's got a title run in him. I don't think he's got a run at the top 15. I don't think he would really beat too many people in that top 15 division. Heavyweight is actually quite a good division for the UFC right now, even though they are trying to get more people in the UFC heavyweight division, which I respect. Tough 30 is heavyweights and women's flyweights. Makes the most sense to me. I've got Arlovski by decision. He hasn't actually finished anyone since like 2016, I think. He hasn't got a finish in a very long time. I don't think that Jared Vanderaa is the guy that Andrei Arlovski is going to finish, in my opinion here. But if he does, I'd be very impressed. I don't know, that's it, man. I just think Andrei Arlovski is the kind of guy that just beats these lower level heavyweights of the UFC division. I mean, he beat Carlos Felipe, split decision king, and his last one looked pretty good in that fight there. He definitely won that fight, in my opinion, as well. And yeah, I'm just going to have to go with Andrei Arlovski to win that fight there. Alright, let's go into the next one. We've got Nasrat Haqparast versus Bobby Green. Bobby Green coming off a win over Al Iaquinta. I think that was a first round knockout in Al Iaquinta's return to MMA. Prior to that, a very close fight with Rafael Fiziev. I think it was closer than a lot of people remember. He outlanded Rafael Fiziev in the last round, and I think he actually won that final round. And in the second round as well, it was also a pretty competitive round, in my opinion. Thiago Moises, he lost to him, borderline top 15 guy, was a ranked opponent when he had his fight announced with Islam Makhachev. He's got a win over Alan Patrick and Lando Venado as well. Pretty good wins there on the record, but he's fighting Nasrat Haqparast, a guy that I respect a lot for taking on Dan Hooker on short notice. Both of them made their weight cut very quickly and put on a pretty good fight, in my opinion. Dan Hooker did beat Nasrat Haqparast kind of in all areas of the game. He backed him up, which isn't really something that people do to Nasrat Haqparast. With that being said, I think Bobby Green is going to be able to back up Nasrat, even though he was getting backed up himself by Rafael Fiziev. Nasrat Haqparast, my problem with him is his wins have not aged well at all. Rafa Garcia went on a losing streak after losing to Nasrat. Alex Munoz, I think, also went on a losing streak after losing to Nasrat. He lost to Drew Dober by knockout. Not really the greatest look in the world as an up-and-coming prospect in the lightweight division, but Drew Dober is borderline top 15. I think he was actually ranked at one point as well. And he knocked out Joaquin Silva a couple of years ago. Very young guy in Nasrat Haqparast. I think they're doing him a little bit of a favour by letting him fight Bobby Green on the main card of the pay-per-view for the favour that he did them and Dan Hooker in his last fight. I mean, that was a great opportunity for Nasrat, man. He was fighting a top 10. I think Dan Hooker was like ranked 6th or 7th at the time. Great opportunity for Nasrat, and unfortunately did not quite come into fruition for him there. But If we move on, man, Bobby King Green, I do think he's going to outstrike Nasrat with the volume. I think Nasrat's got the power, man. He did beat Rafael Garcia by decision. He beat Alex Munoz by decision, but he did knock out Joaquim Silva, which is a pretty good look, let's be honest. Nasrat Haqparast is the kind of guy that wouldn't mind having a little bit of a brawl on the feet. Bobby King Green, I think at this point he also is pretty keen for a little bit of a brawl. This is definitely going to be a very exciting fight to open up the main card. I think they've done well to make this choice here. I do see Bobby King Green winning the fight by a decision. I don't think he's going to knock out Haqparast, but maybe he could. I think we're just going to see Green put on more volume, do more work on the feet, and I think he's just going to piece up Nasrat for the better of 3 rounds. I think he's just going to outpoint him on the feet until the end of the fight. Alright, in the next fight, we've got another fight on the main card of this UFC 271 pay-per-view. Kyler Phillips taking on Marcelo Rojo. UFC are really trying to make Kyler Phillips a big name. I think he is only 26 years old. He does have a very exciting fighting style. He's got a win over Yadong Song. He knocked out Cameron Else, destroyed Cameron Else, let's be honest. Beat Gabriel Silva. Prior to that was beating guys over in LFA. He lost to Julian Paiva in a fight that should have been a draw. I think everyone can agree that fight should have been a draw, if anything, and maybe even a win for Kyler Phillips, but Kyler Phillips, I still can't really get over the lack of fight IQ that he did show in that fight. I think as soon as I realized that he was just going to be throwing spinning attacks and trying to knock out Julian Paiva with some sort of exciting spinning attack, I got very nervous for Kyler, and that kind of happened, man. Let's be honest. I see it as a fight IQ sort of thing. He hurt Julian Paiva in the first round, and then he started to throw spinning attacks. He started expending all of his energy and power shots, trying to finish Julian Paiva. A patient Kyler Phillips can beat Yadong Song. An impatient Kyler Phillips loses to a rocked and very badly hurt Julian Paiva. On the other side, Marcelo Rojo is a beast. I've seen a lot of people saying that this is just going to be a walkthrough fight for Kyler Phillips to make him look good on a pay-per-view card to boost his name status. Maybe make a Kyler Phillips versus Sean O'Malley fight. I mean, that would be kind of sick. But we don't really talk about that right now. We've got Marcelo Rojo fighting Kyler Phillips. He last fought on short notice against Charles Jourdain. I think he made it actually to the 3rd round in that fight and didn't even look too bad as a pretty big underdog. I think he's a big underdog, but prior to that he was fighting over on the regional scene. The thing that does bother me though, he's got a submission loss to John Castaneda. I mean, it doesn't really look too bad now that he just beat Miles Johns, but with that being said, it was still a little bit of a concerning loss. Yeah, he was a pretty major underdog in that one there. He's not really someone to look over here, but I do think that Kyler Phillips is going to hurt Marcelo Rojo in the first round. He fights out of the MMA lab as well. I think Kyler Phillips is going to hurt Marcelo Rojo in the first round, but he's going to stay patient. I think he's going to come with a better game plan. Hopefully he comes with a better mindset, is able to stay patient, and is able to beat Marcelo Rojo over the course of 3 rounds to a decision win here. He's definitely a borderline top 15 guy in the bantamweight division. I think if he wins this fight, he will be fighting a top 15 guy. Maybe he'll be fighting Sean O'Malley. I think it would make sense for him to call out Sean O'Malley, considering the UFC are really trying to boost this guy's profile. Sean O'Malley just knocked out Julian Paiva in the first round, and Kyler Phillips just lost to Julian Paiva. So maybe Sean O'Malley could talk a bit of smack about that. Kyler Phillips could talk a bit of smack about that too, and we'll see what kind of happens there. But I've got Kyler Phillips by decision in this one. Not really too much to say. I'm kind of in a little bit of a rush for this video, which is why it's so short, because I'm going to get picked up very, very soon. So, yeah, my point is I'm going Kyler Phillips. I'm going Kyler Phillips by decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he knocks him out sometime within the fight. Kyler Phillips, I think he's going to hurt him in the first round. He's going to have a great first round. He's going to continue that momentum throughout the fight. Marcelo Rojo, definitely not someone to overlook, and I do hope he stays in the UFC after this fight. What's up, guys? Artem MMA Analysis here. Unfortunately, we're going to have a little bit of quiet commentary for the last 3 fights of the night. I just got back. It's 11:15 p.m. and I don't really want to wake up all of my flatmates by recording, but I do have to get these videos out for you guys, man. We've got Jared Cannonier versus Derek Brunson. I was originally picking Derek Brunson, man. He was my original pick, but my mind has changed. I've actually flipped my pick. I'm picking Jared Cannonier to win this one. I actually do think that he could be the one to knock out Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson, man, what a streak we're talking about, though. I picked him to lose against Darren Till. And he absolutely he beat Darren Till. I think that Derek Brunson actually has some of the better offensive wrestling in the 185-pound division. Maybe he's actually got the best, aside from maybe even Marvin Vettori. Robert Whittaker as well potentially could rival that as well. But Derek Brunson, pure wrestling, is definitely one of the better wrestlers in the 185-pound division. If you look at Jared Cannonier, though, even at the 205-pound division, if you guys don't know, man, he's fought at heavyweight, light heavyweight. Now he's fighting at middleweight. this guy was able to defend takedowns in those upper weight classes as well. I do actually think that Jared Kennedy's defensive wrestling might be good enough to keep the fight on the feet. And also, he knocked down Calvin Gastelum. I mean, no one's really knocked down Calvin Gastelum apart from Israel Adesanya from memory, man. That's a pretty good win to have on your record as well. I know Calvin Gastelum's on a bit of a slide right now. Still a great win, man. I think it's definitely title eliminator here. I think everyone kind of knows that. But as I was saying, man, I do think Jared Kennedy is going to keep the fight on the feet. I think he's got the much better stand-up than Derek Brunson. But Derek Brunson's got power on the feet as well, man. He's got first-round knockouts, if you guys don't know. I went to a live show in New Zealand. I think it was in about 2017 or so. I met Derek Brunson before the show, the night before. And he knocked out his opponent in the first round. So, yeah, man, that's how I know Derek Brunson. But with that being said, man, yeah, I'm going to go with Jared Kennedy. I mean, I really kind of, part of me really thinks Derek Brunson is going to win. As I say, guys, these picks aren't final. I could post on my Instagram a different pick. My final picks are always posted onto my Instagram account at artem.mma.analysis, by the way. But yeah, man, Tapology is split on the pick. It's either Derek Brunson decision, in my opinion, or Jared Kennedy knockout. I'm going to go Jared Kennedy a knockout. But, interesting that people are picking Jack Blackmuck. But with that being said, Jared Kennedy on this one. Not a lot of confidence in it whatsoever, but definitely thought I'd get this video out there and let you guys know. What's up, guys? Artem MMA Analysis here. Sorry for the very quiet commentary once again. It's 11:20 PM. I'm not really out here trying to wake up all of my flatmates by recording YouTube. I'm sorry, man. Wasn't really able to record all of the videos that I wanted to. I was able to do the first 12 fights of the night during the day, but unfortunately I got picked up, got busy, you know, and now I've come back. It's quite late at night, but I want to get everything out tonight for you guys, so I have content for you guys on my channel. But we've got Derek Lewis versus Taituevasta. When this fight was first announced, I had Derek Lewis. I think Derek Lewis is going to get the job done. Taituevasta, I do think, is actually the fastest striker, but Derek Lewis, all you really need for Derek Lewis is one punch. One punch to knock out anyone. He knocked out Curtis Blades with that crazy uppercut when he shot him for a takedown in the second round. He's knocked out Alexei Olenek. He knocked out Iliam Latifi, and he also knocked out Chris Dalkaus in his last fight only a month ago, man. This is actually a pretty quick turnaround for Derek Lewis. I think it's because he's getting paid now. He must be getting paid a decent amount of money, and now he just wants money. He's 37 years old. I think he knows he's coming towards the end of his career, so now he's just going for those quick turnarounds, those quick money fights. And a money fight for Derek Lewis right now is definitely Taituevasta. Taituevasta has made a very good name for himself, a big name for himself with his shoeies. I don't think we're going to see a shoei in this one, though. He did knock out Augusto Sakai in the second round. He knocked out Greg Hardy as well. He knocked out Harry Hunsaker, and he also knocked out Stephen Struve. Before that, though, he was on a 3-fight losing streak. I don't think he got knocked out in any of those 3 losses, though. Actually, I lied. Sorry, he got knocked out by Junior Dos Santos, but then he went to decision with Bogoy Ivanov, and then got submitted by Sergey Spivak. After that, though, he's been on his little run. He's made a big name for himself. I'm very glad that Walt Harris fight didn't happen. Yeah, I'm going to go with Derek Lewis. I just think that the level of fighters that Derek Lewis has been fighting recently is higher level than Taituevasta. I mean, the guy just fought Cyril Gane in his second to last fight, and then he got an up-and-comer on Chris Dalkaus. I do think if Derek Lewis wins this fight, he's probably going to call for a title shot, but I think he's going to be one fight away, considering Chris Dalkaus and Taituevasta aren't really that highly ranked in the heavyweight division. But if Taituevasta can win this fight, man, he's going to make a massive name out of himself. Huge name. I'm 28 years old. You're going to have a superstar in the heavyweight division, let's be honest. Derek Lewis, he's probably a little bit old to make a name out of him now. I know he's a big fighter. I know everyone kind of knows who he is because he only just need that one knockout. But we've got to be realistic here, guys. Derek Lewis is 37. He's probably only going to be fighting for a couple more years. Taituevasta, on the other hand, I could probably see going for at least another 5 years, maybe even up to 10 years like Andrei Arlovsky is. But now, I'm going Derek Lewis by knockout. Just a little bit too soon for Taituevasta. I do think there's better matchups for him in the top 10 of the heavyweight division. I don't think this is really it, man. I think Derek Lewis is just a bit scary, to be honest. I just think that he is going to chin Taituevasta. I do love Tai, though, but I think Derek Lewis is going to chin him. So, yeah, that's my pick for the night, eh? And now we are on to the main event. If you're watching the individual videos, I do once again apologize for the quiet commentary. It's about 11:30 PM, man. I'm not really trying to keep my flatmates up and awake while I'm trying to record videos. I'm sorry, but I just wasn't able to get all of my videos recorded today, so I had to record a few late at night, so that's why we've got that quiet commentary there. But we're moving on, man. We've got Israel Adesanya fighting Robert Whittaker. As I said in my very early preview prediction, I am definitely taking Israel Adesanya with a pretty decent amount of confidence as well. To be honest, I just don't think that Robert Whittaker I don't really think that there's anyone in the middleweight division right now that could actually beat Israel Adesanya. I'm just going to say that right now, and straight up and honest. But Robert Whittaker, if there is one, Robert Whittaker's the nightmare matchup. Let's be honest. Robert Whittaker is probably Israel Adesanya's biggest test, and that's why I'm very excited for the rematch here. Israel Adesanya dispatched him in the second round pretty easily in their first fight. But after that, he beat Yoel Romero in a very boring fight, let's be honest. He knocked out Paulo Costa. He lost to Jan Blachowicz. I mean, that's not a bad loss to have. I know Jan Blachowicz just lost to Glover Teixeira, but he went up a weight class in that one. So you kind of got to respect that effort that he put in there to try and cement his legacy a little bit. And this is only lost in his career. He beat Marvin Vettori as well by a 50-45 decision. That was a pretty dominant performance. He kind of controlled the whole fight, outstruck Marvin Vettori on the feet. Kind of made him look a bit stupid, to be honest. He actually made Marvin Vettori look like an amateur at one point. But Robert Whittaker, on the other hand, 3-fight win streak after his loss. I mean, he probably did deserve a title shot after he beat Darren Till, but we don't talk about that, man. He beat Darren Till, and then he beat Jared Cannonier, and then he beat Calvin Gastelum. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Robert Whittaker is the next in line. I think that Robert Whittaker only needed to win one or two more. He didn't even need that Calvin Gastelum win, but he just went ahead and did it anyway, so you kind of got to respect that. He lost to Yoel Romero, in my opinion, to get the bout. But then he fought Israel Adesanya after that and then got knocked out cold. I do think Israel Adesanya, we're going to see a pretty dominant performance on the feet for Israel, and I actually do think we're going to see a decision. He's become a lot more patient recently. I mean, he took Marvin Vettori to a decision. I thought he was going to knock him out. He knocked out Paulo Costa, which is awesome. He took Yoel Romero to a decision. I mean, it was a weird fight, though. But, yeah, just in his last, two fights, I guess you could say, he's been quite patient, especially the fight with Marvin Vettori. I really thought he could crack him. I really thought he could knock him out. I know Marvin Vettori has a granite chin, but I really did expect Israel Adesanya to chin him. But with that being said, dude, I think we're going to see a dominant performance over 5 rounds for Israel Adesanya here. Robert Whittaker, he's going to come in with a game plan. He's going to come in with the same game plan that Jan Blachowicz had. He's going to try and wrestle him. But here's the thing. Everyone that Israel Adesanya has ever fought, pretty much, in MMA, has tried to take him down. It's not really like a 200 IQ plan to try and take down the extremely long and lengthy striker with 75-5 kickboxing record. I mean, if you're fighting a guy with a 75-5 kickboxing record, you want to take him down to the ground. It's not really a genius. Doesn't really take a genius to figure that one out. So I know Israel Adesanya and his camp will be doing takedown defense all day. He's also training with Carlos Albrecht and Mike Mathietha, so they'll all be training together. They'll have good training partners. I've got Israel Adesanya. I do think we're going to see a dominant decision win. Can he chin him? Definitely, but I don't know, man. I do think the odds are a little bit wide. I do think that Robert Whittaker has been very disrespected by these lines here. Plus 200 for Robert Whittaker. Don't really like it, to be honest, man. I think that Robert Whittaker probably a pretty live dog, but as I said, man, I do think that Israel Adesanya is probably going to beat everyone in the middleweight division as it stands at the moment. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. And hopefully you guys have a great day. And I'm going to have to make about 16 thumbnails. So, I'm going to have fun doing that. I'll see you guys later.